Are you ready to get access to high limit business lines of credit for your business, like this 150K business line of credit that I got from Chase? Well, look no further because I'm going to show you exactly what you need to know in order to get this high limit funding for your business so you can either start, grow, or scale your company with this funding, and what a business line of credit is, how you get access to high limits, everything you need to know. So stay all the way into the end. Don't try to skip. Don't try to cut through. Let me see what he said about 150. Just watch all the way through because all of the information here is going to be helpful in order to get you funded. So without any further ado, let's go. What's going on? It's Colin Brown here from Business Credit Unlimited. I'm back. So let's talk about how to get access to high limit business lines of credit for your business. What you see right here is my 150K business line of credit from Chase. So let's break down how I got it. I already have some videos on this, but I never did a video on how to get high limit business lines of credit in general for your business. So a business line of credit, this is the official definition that you see here, but to make it very simple for you, it's a line of credit it's like a credit card, right? When you get a credit card, you get assigned a limit. Say it's 50K. On this 50K business credit card, you have up to that amount that you can spend. But as you know, if you try to pull cash from it, you either have to liquidate that business line of credit or you do a cash advance, and you never, ever, ever want to do a cash advance. Always liquidate if you have to do that. But with a business line of credit, you don't even have to liquidate. You can pull straight from cash. Or you can pull from that business line of credit straight to cash in your business checking account. So you have 150K like I do, that's 150K in cash that you have access to for your business. So it's not like a traditional loan where you have a set amount and you make that certain amount of a payment on the term that you were assigned. Essentially, you are assigned a limit and you pay back on what you borrow. So say in the same example, 150K, you borrow only 50. You only pay interest in based on the principal. You pay interest based on how much that you pull off of that. I ain't in this out. Y'all can get it raw. So what is a high limit business line of credit? I consider a high limit business line of credit anything that exceeds 25K. And we can go all the way up to 250K. Really, some lines of credit with certain banks, they will exceed beyond 250K. But normally to get beyond 250K, you have to have some type of collateral, so on and so forth. So it's not easy to get that high of a limit, but you absolutely can. They're out there, especially like with the SBA and certain banks. And we've gotten clients up to 250K. And I personally have, as I already mentioned, 150K business line of credit with Chase. Video in the description if you want more information about that. Now, here are the keys to business lines of credit. So you can be approved for high limit business lines of credit if you have the proper documentation, you know the right banks to apply for, and your business is structured properly. That's very important. So if you're going here looking for no docs, know that it's 100% possible, right? Even all the way up to the 250K, 100% possible. However, it's nowhere near as common with the business credit cards. So a business line of credit is a totally different league from a business credit card, okay? You can get 50 to 150K with 0% business credit cards. If you know what you're doing, like it's not really a big deal. We've done it, I mean, literally hundreds of times. I'm not saying that because it sounds good. We have literally done it over 100 times. So it's not a big deal at all. Well, hundreds of times, actually more than 100. But it's not for a business line of credit. It's not for everyone. In order to get the no docs is not for everyone. So just to let you know, but I'm going to tell you more information on that later, because the main reason why is because the underwriting process for a business line of credit is completely different from a business credit card. Okay, it's much more strict when you're getting a business line of credit versus getting that business credit card. Okay. So if you think you're going to be able to just start a new LLC and get 150K in a business line of credit, 100K, you got another thing coming. It ain't going to happen. You don't have to take my word for it. Just try it and see what happens. And it ain't going to happen because you got to really know what you're doing. So pay attention to this video. If you have a newer LLC, pay attention to this video. Watch everything, because if you try to skip through, you're going to miss something, and you're going to mess it up, and you're going to come back. Oh, I should have just watched the full video. Anyways. How to get high limit business lines of credit. So remember, this is a step by step process, a step by step guide. Step number one, you need to know and meet the requirements. Step two, grow and establish a relationship with the right bank or banks. And step number three, apply for funding using the right banker or the right method. All right. Relationships are important, by the way, because contrary to popular belief, you can't just go to any bank that you want and start a new relationship and expect high limits from them on a business line of credit. So it's very important to understand. All right. And it could drastically determine the limit that you get if you don't follow these three steps, essentially. So let's break these three steps down. Step number one, know and meet the requirements. Requirements for a high limit business line of credit. You're going to have two main requirements on the personal side from your personal credit, and then on your business side, not just your business credit, but really the way your business is structured. So let me explain. So for personal credit, normally you're going to need a 700 to 750 personal credit score. It can be slightly lower than that, but your revenue has to take hold of that. Like, meaning your revenue has to be high. When I say high, what is high, a high revenue, right? I would say 500K plus, even especially like $1 million plus annual revenue. And I ain't saying stated, I'm talking about you actually produce that much revenue, then you probably can get away with a lower credit score. But if you think you're going to come in with a new LLC with a 650, a 600 credit score, and you're not generating revenue in your business and get access to business lines of credit, you got another thing coming. Don't even try it. I'm telling you. So, and why am I talking like this about it? There's nothing wrong with none of these things. I had a 600 before, 500, even high 400s. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. What I'm saying is that you have to do the work first. You have to put in the work first. Okay. If you are there, just know that you're not about to go to the bank where you are currently. Put in the work, improve your personal credit score first, and or your business, grow your business, then you can get access to the funding. I know you may be saying, well, Colin, what is the point? Like, if I'm getting the funding so I can grow my business, it's possible without it. Business funding is supposed to enhance your business, not, well, in certain cases, you need capital to start a business. A lot of times it depends on the business model, but especially if you're like in a service business, you don't just wait around for funding, right? You want to get something going if you can. All right. If you can. And especially if your credit score is compromised. That's what I'm really getting at too, especially like if your credit score is below 700 while you're working on your personal credit, be working on your business. Don't just sit around and do nothing, So that's just a score, but credit utilization, 3 to 9%, no higher than 15, I would say. It's possible, but really, if you got the cash, just pay it down or get access to the cash. That's what we do with our clients all the time. They come in with 30% utilization. We use their credit. We leverage their credit. That's why you have a high credit score. You use that leverage, get cash, pay down on your cars, and then now, boom, you ain't got to worry about it. Credit history, 3+ years. You can get away with a lot less than that, 1 year, but really you want 3+ years if possible. High limits on your personal credit cards is going to get you high limits on the business side. I like to see 10K plus, but really you can go for 25K. The 25K is preferred, right? Or 20, 15, 20, 25K is preferred, but you can go for that bad boy with at least 10K. No negatives. Yeah, you can have some negatives technically, but it's better to have no negatives. All right, so let's talk more about it on the business side. This is going to take the longest part, so pay close attention. Now, an LLC and an S Corp is preferred. I wouldn't go in for a business line of credit with just a sole proprietorship. For the most part, you're going to need an LLC for 2+ years. For every business line of credit, absolutely not. No, sir or ma'am. You do not have to have an LLC for 2+ years, but if you're looking for the higher limits, you're going to want an LLC for 2+ years, but not every single business line of credit you have to have 2 years. I promise you that. We've done it 50K lines of credit without with just 1 year. So 10 to 25K in liquid cash plus is going to help. The more liquid cash that you have, the higher the chances of you getting access to higher limit funding. again, if you know what you're doing, you could go get the cash. You don't have to already have it in there. A lot of times, if you know what you're doing, you can go get some cash, even if it's not from your actual customers or clients. Okay. I can't go into all of that, because I got to save some for my clients. But either way, if you know what you're doing, you can get access to some additional cash. Now, business structure, not always required, but it's best to have the following. Okay. A professional email, a business address, a business phone number, a DMB number, an operating agreement, and have a website with online presence also. Let's break down all of these because this is the part that's going to mess most of y'all up that y'all not going to have. And it's going to cost you with getting access to a business line of credit. Now, number one, your business name and industry is always more important with a business line of credit than it will be with a business credit card. Because again, the underwriting is a lot more strict than with business credit cards. With business credit cards, you got to think about it like this for a second. With business credit cards, they know that the interest rate is really high, even after the 0% intro period, and you can't get access to cash just directly. So they're a lot less lenient, right? But when it comes to cash, banks not giving out cash to you just straight, boom, boom, unless they know that you can pay it back. Okay. So it's a lot more risk to them. And a business line of credit, normally the interest rate is going to be a lot less than it would be with a business credit card. And a professional email, next thing. So make sure you have a professional email. Like I said, not always required, but it's really, just do it. Like, don't try to risk it because it doesn't cost that much. A lot of the professional emails are only like $5 to $10 a month per domain. You can go to GoDaddy, you can go to G Suite, and there's a lot of other ones out there. It's at least formerly called G Suite. I believe now it's called Google Workforce. But just get a professional email if you don't have it. And what does that mean? So that means that you have at yourbusinessname.com instead of at Gmail, at Yahoo. You need to have a professional email. I can't really take you serious in business unless there's certain type of businesses really, but for the most part, I can't really take you serious unless you have a professional business email address. Okay. Now, business address, a physical address where you own or lease is going to be the absolute best. So if you have a physical location and you either rent, you own that physical location for your business, then that's going to be the absolute best when it comes to business lines of credit. However, you can get away with a virtual office. We're seeing virtual offices not being counted as much for the banks. Like the banks are not liking virtual addresses as much, but if you get the right one, okay, you still be fine. You'll still be fine for the most part. Okay. Especially you need to pick an address that's going to appear to be an office building, or you could possibly not be accepted. So just make sure it looks professional because guess what? The banks, or when I say the banks, meaning the actual bankers that are looking in the underwriters, they're going to Google your business address to see if that's an actual address. If it pulls up to like a corner store or something, or is looking shady, it doesn't look like a place of business, and you're out of there. You could get denied for things like this. Believe it or not, I've seen it. One of my clients, Chase, hit him up, and I've talked about Chase a lot with the business line of credit, but check this out. So they actually went to his business address to verify the business address. Okay. So things can get real. It really depends. That's why this is important. And again, this is one of those things y'all try to skip to the end or something like that. You're not going to realize it and you're going to get messed up. Okay. Business line of credit is a lot more strict on the underwriting. All right. A business phone number. Make sure you have a separate business phone number. An 800 number and a local number is best, but really you can get away with just having a local number when it comes to a separate business phone number. And it does not need to be your cell phone number. It doesn't have to be a separate, like you have a separate phone per se, but it needs to be a separate number. And yes, you can do like a literal add another line to your T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, or whatever the case. You can do that, but it is best to have a dedicated business line just so you make sure you check all the marks. Is this required every time? No, but it's best practice for sure. And you want to register that number with 411 just in case. Like that's another best practice. because when the banks are looking up your information, this is one of the things that they're going to look at, and it's going to give you the best online presence too as well. Now, a DNB number that can be grabbed from the DNB website for free online. Don't pay anybody for that. It's very simple. And you do not need the credit builder accounts that they will try to pitch you. Just get your DNB number. Make sure that you have that so you'll be registered with Dun & Bradstreet. You want an operating agreement too as well. Most banks will ask for, it said must banks, but it should be say most banks will ask for an operating agreement for business lines of credit. So it's definitely good to have. Now, this can be created on rocketlawyer.com. I believe it's rocketlawyer.com, or just look up Rocket Lawyer. And there's plenty of other sites if you don't have an operating agreement. Now, a website. This website, it really needs to reflect your low risk industry, and know that what a bank considers to be low risk does depend on the bank. So sometimes people say, here are a bunch of low risk NAS codes. Well, that's not always the case, because what's considered a low risk NAS code to one bank could be considered high risk, because we all know consulting, at least most of y'all here probably know this, right? That a consulting, depending on which NAS code you use within consulting, is normally considered low risk, but to certain banks, they don't like consulting. I promise you that. Like, I literally know 2 banks right now that told us directly, we don't like consulting companies. So it really, that's perspective on the bank. But either way, your website needs to reflect that, because they're going to look at your website 9 times out of 10 with a business line of credit. So it's important to have. And when I say 9 times out of 10, that 1 time out of 10 is a bank that's just not as concerned, but most banks will. And they tend not to lend high limits to businesses that they can't verify online. So that's why online presence is key. We work with that with all of our clients, just to make sure that when we Google their names, we can actually see them on various websites, and you look ubiquitous. You look like you're all over the place, right? This is naturally going to happen the longer that you're in business and you do podcasts, you have different posts and different things like different things. You have a larger digital presence than others, right? That's naturally going to happen. But if you're a newer business and you don't have all those things, you haven't really done podcasts, you haven't done interviews, you haven't done different things, right? Like me, one time I was on live television. If you haven't done those things, you're not going to have as big of an online presence. However, there's a way that you can go through and create these things. So just know that. Now, that was one of the most important pieces, right? Once you have that groundwork set, now you can move on to step number 2, which is going to be grow or establish relationships with the right banks. Most banks will want to see some type of relationship established for high limits. Yeah, you can get a 10, 20, 30K, right? Maybe without some of these things, or going to just any random bank. But if you're looking for the higher limits, that's what we're here for, baby. Then you're going to need to have a relationship established with the right banks. Because even if you are in business and generating a great revenue, if you don't go to the right banks, you won't get a high limit. That's just how it works. So you still want a relationship with the bank that you're applying for funding for. What are the right banks, Colin? Well, let's talk about it. I've seen 25K plus approvals with the following banks. And with some of these banks, I've literally seen 100K plus approvals. And I'll name some of those out. Chase Bank, seen over 100K. American Express, not as high, but it really depends on the relationship. But definitely 25K plus. Bank of America seen 50K or 50 or 75K I've personally seen. Citizens, definitely, they'll go up and exceed 50K. Key Bank, we've done 50K business lines of credit with Key Bank. US Bank, also very. I've seen 100 and I think it was 150K my client got. Man, I don't be having the time to just go through. I'm not a YouTuber like some of these guys, man. I don't have the time to go through and like show every approval every time. But if I do for this one, I'm going to put it on the screen. Anyways, PNC Bank, we've seen high limit business lines of credit for that too. Fifth Third Bank, not as much, but I know for a fact that they will go up to 100K. Truist, definitely. Wells Fargo, that's one bank that we've seen consistent business line of credit approvals for. And we had a client got conditionally approved for 150K with Wells Fargo. And I've seen 100, 150K business lines of credit with Wells Fargo. There are many others, but just name dropping a few here. The best bank to go to first, for the most part, is going to be the bank that you have your relationship built with. Okay, so the bank that you mainly build or you mainly bank with on the business side, and hopefully the personal and business side, it's going to be one of the best banks to go to. So how do you grow and establish a relationship for a high limit business line of credit? First, you definitely want to open a business checking account with that bank. You also want to have positive cash flow. So if you're like going into negatives, you have an NSFs, like you only had $1,000, but you had some come out for $2,000 and you didn't put $1,000 in there to at least balance it out, if not more, within like 24 hours, you're going to get hit with an overdraft fee. And the moment you get hit with that overdraft fee, it's drama, it's trouble. You don't want to do that ever on the business side or personal side. But if you want a high limit business line of credit, you don't want to be messing around with those at all, okay? Because you're going to have to wait a time period to make sure that it doesn't affect you when it comes to getting approved. And also, just in general, the more cash you have, the higher the chance of approval. Now, in order to, again, step 2, grow, establish a relationship with the right banks, here are some of the bank range. Just speaking of how much cash, you can see these here on the screen. Now, when it comes to what bank rating that you want, normally a low 5, that's 10 to 40K, but obviously mid 5 is better than that and high 5 is better than that. So it really depends on how much cash or how much liquidity you have access to, but the more the merrier, baby. The more the merrier. Now, a merchant account. This is key. If you have a merchant account, it's going to drastically increase the chances of your approval for high limits on the business line of credit. Collecting payments from your business, collecting payments from your clients or customers into your business checking account is huge. I cannot stress that enough, how big that really is. The time of relationship also too as well. 6+ months is best, but at least 2 to 4 weeks if you're going for the higher limits. Right, you got to be patient if you're going for the higher limits. Business revenue, 15 to 25K. If you're going for no docs, then normally 15 to 25K. But yes, we've done all the way no docs at all. And why you're probably wondering too, well, at least some of y'all, you might have picked up on this. You like 15 to 25K in revenue. If they're not asking for docs, why do you care about my revenue? Well, it's very simple, because I'm talking about when you apply, they're not asking for any docs. But if you're generating that much revenue, then the bank can see that even if they don't ask you for any docs, right? That's their history. That is their form of documentation. They may not ask you when you apply, but if you're processing payments with that merchant, or your merchant account with that bank, then that is their form of documentation. So that's best for high limits, because some of y'all, some of y'all don't really get this, don't want to deal with it, but it is what it is. Like if you're looking for the highest limits, you're going to have to do this. So you're looking for the 100, 150Ks, the 200Ks. All of my clients that didn't include myself, this is what we did. So you take it or leave it. And some of y'all like are cool with this, and some of y'all just don't get it, but whatever. Normally you will get a limit for up to 10% of your annual revenue too as well. And the limit is up to, not precise. So if your revenue either stated, depending on the bank, stated, or how much you actually generate is 1.5 million, then you can get access to 150K business line of credit, at least up to that amount. Just something to keep in mind. Now, this must be coming from a business checking account via your merchant account for best results. I've stated, I can't state that enough. Also, when it comes to building a relationship with the banks, you want to have other products as well. Not just the merchant account. You can have personal checking accounts, personal savings accounts, even a business saving account, an auto loan with the bank. You can have personal loans, a CD account, auto loans, retirement accounts, so on and so forth, right? And also another thing too, just make sure like the more you can keep your utilization lower, or if you go higher in utilization on the personal or business side and you can pay it off faster, like the faster you're able to pay it off and the more you're able to do this, the more you're transacting, the better your relationship will be built with that particular bank. So just a recap, so we can break this thing down in steps. Step number one, open a business checking account. Step number two, fund that business checking account with money. Step number three, either apply or have these other products already ready, right? And then step number four, wait the proper time period before applying for funding for the best results. Now, step number three, applying for a BLOC. How do you apply? A lot of times you can apply online, but a lot of times you cannot. So if you're talking about going online, some banks will make you go in person for a business line of credit, especially when you start getting to those higher business lines of credit. So just keep that in mind. But if it is online, you go to the website, fill out the information, boom, you're done. All right. In branch, similar concept. I like going to a banker that I have rapport with, but go inside of the branch, you have one in your area, have your data points ready, fill out the application, and then boom. Here's my favorite method is through a business relationship manager. So you speak with a business relationship manager. I'm telling you, it's like having a cheat code because this business relationship manager is normally they have the best same interests as you. Like they're trying to get you as high limit as possible and as fast as possible, even without the most documentation or with the least amount of documentation rather. So it's definitely a move if you're able to get access to one. But the cool thing is that a business relationship manager normally only is available to clients that's generating at least $1 million in revenue. But say you have access to me, you have access to my business relationship managers, and I have several for all of the high tier banks. I literally have a business relationship manager with them. So it's cool. But without a business relationship manager, especially if you do this application online or even inside of a branch, doesn't matter. They're two and the same for the most part. You're going to be at the mercy of the algorithm for your limit. So just keep that in mind. Like you may not be able to hit that high limit because you're pretty much beholden to whatever the algorithm gets you. So that's it. That's how you do it. That's the things to keep in mind. A lot of things that I said here may sound simple, may sound redundant, but I promise you most people get this wrong and they don't understand how important it is and how strict the underwriting is for most business lines of credit, especially if you don't have access to a business relationship manager. But if you want one-on-one help, you want me to walk you through this, hit the resource in the description so I can help you get access to high limit business lines of credit. You're going to fill out a quick survey. If you meet the criteria, you're going to hop on a call with me or my team members. We're going to build our customized funding strategy, talk about what high limit business lines of credit that you will be able to get access to, and we're going to get you funded. So that way, here in 2025 and beyond, you're going to be able to make more money, quit your job, quit your 9 to 5, or just have more money, have more time freedom. You'll be able to go on a beach or whatever it is, and your business is still operating, still going. You have that cushion, right? That's what I love about having a business line of credit. But that's pretty much it. Man, let's keep this thing going, y'all. Y'all already know. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more funded videos because guess what? They're going to keep coming your way. That's pretty much it, y'all. See y'all. Peace.